The Dragon Ball universe spans across a long period of time, and tons of crazy things have happened over the course of its history. So it may surprise you to know that some even more wild things have very nearly been entered into the Dragon Ball canon. We're going to be talking about some things which were left out at the last minute, but their inclusion would have changed everything we know about the series. You might be surprised to learn what tiny change could have sent a ripple effect into the Dragon Ball universe. Dragon Ball started out with relatively straightforward characters and villains, and then all of a sudden our heroes were faced with a terrifying Piccolo Daimao. In the manga, his name is Great Demon King Piccolo, so it's not that crazy of a leap to assume he was demonic. Piccolo Daimao looked totally different from all other characters, possessed unimaginable powers, and also laid eggs by puking them up. Gross. In Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo Daimao was retconned to be a Namekian instead of an evil demonic entity. Although we don't know for sure what the next Dragon Ball series is going to be about, there was a major plot point left unresolved from Super. You don't have to be the most observant fan theory generator up there to notice the Angels are definitely up to something. It seems almost certain that there was supposed to be some payoff for all this build-up, but it ended up being omitted in favor of other plotlines. To get ready to introduce him into the official canon, Bardock's temperament and personality underwent some pretty severe changes. He was once depicted as just another ruthless Saiyan who wasn't particularly interested in anything or anyone except fighting. However, in Dragon Ball Super Broly, we saw him as a caring father and husband desperate to keep his youngest son safe from Frieza. Despite greatly resembling him physically, Garlic Jr. only has half of the composure and charm of Emperor Pilaf, and that's saying something. Maybe that's why Dragon Ball fans generally don't appreciate the nuances of Garlic Jr. and the Garlic Jr. saga. Still, he's been all but erased from the canon, changing the landscape of the Dragon Ball universe. Just imagine how different things could be if Garlic Jr. ever comes back. As much as we love him, we can definitely see that there are some limitations with the character of Goku. Pretty much all he cares about is fighting, and this comes at the expense of his relationship with his wife and his ability to be a father to his children. In comparison, Gohan has the potential to be even stronger than Goku, and he's a much more well-balanced character overall. In fact, for a period of time, Akira Toriyama had a plan to have Gohan replace Goku as the star of Dragon Ball. In Dragon Ball Z, we saw Goku travel to Namek and display an incredible power which we have never seen before or since. Although we've seen other characters like Tien Shinhan and Chaozu communicate telepathically, Goku was never known to do this. But all of a sudden, Goku could read Krillin's mind and suddenly be aware of everything that was going on. This was pretty sudden and surprising, and made even stranger because it never happened again. Apparently, it was decided that Goku didn't need to add this particular power to his arsenal after all. In the early days of Dragon Ball, we were introduced to Launch, who spent her days hiding from the police at Kame House. Over time, her blonde persona evolved from an unstoppable violent force to someone capable of friendship and functioning in society. Well, kind of. All live happily together in the forest. Now, this sounds pretty sweet, but isn't it strange that we've never seen any actual evidence of them? We aren't sure why they haven't been included, despite Android 17 talking about them pretty extensively. One particularly strange fan theory states that his family doesn't really exist and are nothing more than figments of his imagination designed to fight his loneliness. Various sources claim the Saiyans got their scouters from Frieza, but some say they were stolen from the Tuffles. And then going further back, the Saiyans aren't from planet Vegeta, but moved there following the destruction of their original homeworld, though that one was their own fault. The history of the Saiyans has gone through so much, and the writers of Dragon Ball GT Perfect Files wonder if the Saiyans' original planet was a place called Planet Seiya. Everyone knows that Saiyans are born with tails, although sometimes they get them ripped off for various reasons. But what you may not know is that Akira Toriyama got the inspiration for Dragon Ball from a Chinese novel called Journey to the West. Goku is based on Sun Wukong, a character who is an actual monkey. Toriyama's original idea was to have Goku be a monkey, but he ultimately decided this would make it difficult for audiences to relate to. Instead, he settled for giving Goku a monkey tail and having him transform into a great ape when the moon is full. There are tons of universes within the overall Dragon Ball universe, but in an interesting way, they connect with another one of Akira Toriyama's most well-known works. Before he came up with Dragon Ball, Toriyama became well-known due to his work on Dr. Slump. There's been some character crossovers at various points in the Dragon Ball timeline, and it's heavily implied these two franchises take place in the same universe. But if that was supposed to be the case, then what's up with Kami? Goku trains with Kami during Dragon Ball, and we learn he's the good half of the evil Piccolo Daimao. Yet in Dr. Slump, Kami is clearly a human being. Apparently, Toriyama tried out tons of different designs for Cell, but found there was no pleasing his editor. Toriyama was constantly encouraged to make Cell look cooler until he had deviated substantially from his original designs. Maybe these design changes explain why Cell has a set of wings despite clearly not needing them to fly. Despite all the changes, it seems like Toriyama still wasn't happy with the final version of Cell. He even complained that Cell had too many spots, which made it difficult to draw him properly. Everyone knows that Akira Toriyama created Dragon Ball, but he had a lot of help from his Shonen Jump editor Kazuhiko Torishima. He was the one who insisted Toriyama make Arale the main character of his manga Dr. Slump, instead of Senbei Norimaki. But these two didn't agree on everything, and Torishima has always enjoyed subplots focused on romance, while it's not really Toriyama's thing. In the early days of Dragon Ball, Torishima wanted Goku and Bulma to eventually form a romantic relationship with one another, but obviously that idea was cut. Back in the early days of Dragon Ball, we met the bandit Yamcha and his pal Puar. They were interested in stealing the Dragon Balls, and besides being intimidated by Goku's strength, there was another problem: Bulma. Yamcha simply lost all ability to function around girls, and that was the whole reason he wanted to collect the Dragon Balls in the first place. Eventually, he and Bulma kind of dated, or at least Bulma certainly yelled at him as if they were dating. Then, whatever was between them fizzled out, and Yamcha never seriously gets involved with anyone else. Originally, Goku's tail was a big deal. His tail meant that he would transform into a great ape when the moon was full, an action which caused the death of his beloved Grandpa Gohan. His tail was also presented as his one weak point, and he was forced to remove it when it grew back. But it seems like these tails have been totally abandoned. Gohan is the only human Saiyan hybrid who was born with one, and the Saiyans of Universe 6 don't have them. The multiverse is a huge concept in Dragon Ball Super, and they even host tournaments about it, one of which concern the fate of these universes. But while we love learning about the multiverse, it seems like Super has totally done away with one of the already established concepts: twin universes. It had been stated that Universe 6 and Universe 7 were paired together, making their elements alternate versions of one another. But it seems like this was never followed through with, and we haven't seen any evidence of any more twin universes besides 6 and 7. At the beginning of Dragon Ball, Goku is an adorable and fresh-faced little kid, and Toriyama's publisher wanted him to remain that way. If they had their way, Goku would have remained in his childlike state forever, but Toriyama refused. He put his foot down and threatened to stop writing the series entirely unless Goku was allowed to grow up. Surprisingly, this wasn't done for plot reasons, but rather because Toriyama found it difficult to illustrate tiny Goku fighting with full-sized enemies. Oob is the human reincarnation of Kid Buu, and gets to train with Goku following the 28th Tenkaichi Budokai tournament. In the Peaceful World saga, Goku and Oob decide to go adventuring together in order to hone their talents. There was a pretty huge setup during Dragon Ball Z, but unfortunately there really hasn't been a payoff. Dragon Ball GT never showed any of the training which Oob and Goku supposedly did together. Training is no small part of the Dragon Ball franchise, but all of that just got skipped over when it came to Goku and Oob. In the Otherworld saga of Dragon Ball Z, Goku visits the palace of the Grand Kai. Despite being a Kai, he's not allowed to enter the sacred world of the Kai. Then in Dragon Ball Super, we were introduced to the Supreme Kai, which seemingly made his position in the universe redundant. Not only that, but people pretty much stopped talking about the Grand Kai, and we never saw him again. Pikkon made a brief appearance in Dragon Ball Z, but it was a powerful one. Even Goku is impressed by Pikkon's power, and we have to wonder what managed to ever take this guy down. Some theorize it must have been a heroic act of self-sacrifice, because surely no enemy could have actually defeated Pikkon. But where is he? He just kind of disappeared after that. Instead of tagging in Frieza to fight with Universe 7, why didn't they get Pikkon? Many fans are obsessed with classifying characters via their power levels and discovering what their numbers are. But Akira Toriyama says power levels were never meant to be such an important aspect of the show. He intended for less tangible traits like honor and valor to be the true indicators of someone's strength. However, whenever we would hear about power levels, it would typically be that of a hero who won thanks to those positive traits. Raditz showing up was a huge revelation that Goku was actually an alien from outer space, and it changed the rules of the franchise as we knew them. But when Raditz is taken out, he stays gone, which surprised many fans, especially considering how few Saiyans were left at that point. But one interesting idea is that Raditz was never meant to stick around. He was only meant to show what Goku could have been if he hadn't been raised on Earth. There was a time when the Crane Hermit swore he would have revenge for himself and his brother Tao Pai Pai, but we never see him again so he can get his revenge. Tao Pai Pai shows up for some filler, but also never gets any sort of vengeance. Akira Toriyama once claimed the brothers were sent to the afterlife following a bad business deal. Vegeta traveled to Earth to collect the Dragon Balls and wish for immortality, and later heads to Namek for the same reason. And then, all of a sudden, he just kind of abandons that plan entirely. Why? What could have possibly made Vegeta decide he didn't want the extreme power of immortality? Because it definitely seems like he's given up on this once important quest. During Dragon Ball, Grandpa Gohan reveals that being in the afterlife isn't so bad after all, and he has no desire to return to the land of the living. Yet the idea of reincarnation is pretty problematic, especially considering how inconsistently it's used. We've talked about how Oob is the ultra-strong reincarnation of Kid Buu, but what about the various other characters who could be reincarnated? Why couldn't someone like Frieza or Perfect Cell qualify for potential reincarnation if Kid Buu was able to be born again? It seems like maybe this afterlife aspect wasn't thought all the way through. We know these deleted Dragon Ball moments would have changed some things, but is it for the best that they were omitted? In the comments section, tell us which of these you would have liked to see included in the Dragon Ball universe. Then take a moment to click on the subscribe button for more videos from us here at Screen Rant.